Good afternoon, boys and girls, and thank you for tuning in to episode 55 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you today from YouTube. And listen very carefully, I shall say this only once. I'm going to explain only once what this video is about because I gave a complete explanation in part one of this video. So if you want the full explanation, please watch part one, which was broadcast last week. I will, of course, link to that video below. But this is the second part of my rundown of my list of the best perfumes of the decade, which appeared on my blog. We're not doing the complete list, we're only doing selections from the list. If you would like to see the complete list, you need to go over to the blog. So, I won't be saying that again because it's too complicated to repeat. Please watch part one of the video. Let me just go over to the tablet to make sure that we are good and coming through. Two hellos, a hello from Colombo and from Ankalhar. I always worry about saying people's avatar names incorrectly. And hello from London, says DB70. Thank you very much for tuning, everybody. Hopefully this will be a video which will have a little bit of a discussion going. Good morning from Indiana, says Charles Gard. What? It must be pretty early over there. What time must it be there? I know that somebody on YouTube said that right now it is midnight. Oh, and salute from, you did tune in. Oh my goodness. So that means it's 5 a.m. where you are, Mystery Forms. That is, I'm very, very grateful. Talk about a cure for insomnia. Oh, 7 a.m. in Indiana, says Charles. I really, really appreciate all of you tuning in. Morning from Toronto, says Hannah. We will, of course, try to smell a few of these perfumes, but same as I did in part one of the video, and bonjour from Paris, says Bill. Bonjour to you as well. This is the remainder of the list, so if you remember, I read out, and hello from Szczecin, says Marta. Dzień dobry. I read out part one of the list in the first part of the video, so this is the rest of the list. So the remaining 19 perfumes on my list of the best perfumes of the decade are Cartier L'Heure Vertueuse from 2012, Amouage's Interlude Man, Francis Kurkdjian Oud, the original Eau de Parfum, Neil Vermeer Creations Ashoka, Frederic Malle Dries van Noten, Andy Towers Oud, Mito from Vero Profumo, Ylang 49 from Le Labo, Iris Nazarena from Aedes de Venustus, Tom Ford's Santal Blush, Frederic Malle's The Night, Papyrus Oud from Parle-moi de Parfum, Cardamusc from Hermes, Salvatore Ferragamo's Testa di Moro, Mugler's Cuir Impertinent, Penhaligon's Orange Blossom, all the way back from 2010, Guerlain's, this is the slightly controversial one, so we can talk about this, Guerlain's Petite Robe Noire, the EDP from 2012, Gorilla Perfume, Lush, Curbside Violet, and Tower Perfumes Les Années 25, Les Années 25, and I left the 40th spot free with a question mark. I left it open with a question mark because I asked people to nominate some of their own favorites, because of course this is the point where, now that I've revealed the complete list, people will start saying, or you know, will be free to start saying things like, hang on, how come you didn't mention this one? How come you didn't include that one? You know, it's sacrilege that you didn't have a place for such and such. And I guess that's why I left it free, because I don't pretend this list is definitive. It couldn't possibly be definitive. According to Base Notes, there were over 19,000 perfumes released in the whole of the decade. You know, I'm not pretending to have even smelled half of them, even a quarter of them, for goodness sake. And so that's why I thought we'll leave one space open for discussion. And a few people have already left very, very interesting comments and suggestions over on the blog. Some people suggesting things that actually predate 2010, so obviously they couldn't have been included anyway. So please, let's have a discussion at some point today and let me know if there are some that you absolutely rate as your favorites of the decade, because maybe I haven't even tried them, and so perhaps I should. I missed a few comments. Loads and loads of people tuning in, which is fantastic. Where did I get up to? Tomasz says hello from Katowice. The time zones are confusing me. Poland's just 1 hour ahead, so it should be 2 p.m. there, right? Vitaly says good afternoon from Stockholm. Thank you for tuning in. Tomasz is having a little chat with Marta. Greetings from Greece. It says 365 Days Perfumes. Thank you as well for tuning in. 19K, yes, according to base notes to Shara, that it was 19,000 perfumes. Obviously, a lot of them are things that were never going to last that long. Limited editions, one-offs, novelty perfumes. But yeah, 19,000 scents, individual scents on the database. And Tomasz says exactly 2 p.m. Yeah, I always know Poland is an hour ahead of the UK. Okay, I think we should start by smelling something. So keep the comments coming. And I would like to start with this one, because this really was a personal favourite for me from the last 10 years. This one, I'm just looking down on my list. This one came out in 2012, so it's been with us for a while. And this is the third hour from Cartier, or L'Heure, can you see that? L'Heure Vertueuse. I think sometimes Cartier just called them, the third hour, so troisième heure, or they gave them the name. This was part of the exclusive range that Cartier did with all of the scents composed by their in-house perfumer, Mathilde Laurent. Very, very highly acclaimed perfumes, all of them interesting in their own ways. The 13th hour was particularly acclaimed, but the collection seems to have gone a bit quiet, because as far as I'm aware, there are still 2 gaps in it. I don't think they ever did a number 5, and another one of them, they seem to have gone down the route of concentrating on their ouds. They have an oud sandalwood, an oud rose, and even one that they call an oud. I would imagine, knowing what I know of Mathilde Laurent, that she has got the 2 missing ones mapped out and planned out, and she I'm sure has decided precisely what they are meant to be. But I suppose in their wisdom, Cartier have decided that they're not releasing them yet. All definitely worth checking out, the ones from this range. The Forbidden Hour, I forget the number of the hour, but L'Heure Défendue is probably one of the most amazing chocolate liqueur perfumes ever, and of course that ties in with ideas of the forbidden, because one of the most forbidden, sinful things in our culture at the moment is calories, isn't it? Anyway, let's smell this. The very first time I smelt this was not long after it came out, and I smelt it at the Cartier counter at Harrods, and it was an instant shock in the best possible way. You know how Edmond Rudnitska wrote about and spoke about the fact that he thought all successful perfumes, good perfumes, ought to elicit initially a shock, but a shock in a good way, a surprise, a sense of, wow, this is amazing, maybe I haven't smelt this before, maybe I have smelt it before, but maybe I haven't smelt it in this way. And this was, see, it still makes me smile. It must be one of the most perfect green grass scents. Get it? L'Heure Vertueuse, not just virtuous, but it plays on the French word for green. And yes, it is green and verdant and also virtuous, because it's spring-like, and it's sunny, and it's endlessly happy. A lot of you out there will know that Mathilde Laurent also did Herba Fresca for Guerlain, and it's like she took that super green idea from there, but for the Cartier has, I guess appropriately enough, made it somehow more natural smelling, less sci-fi. There is something fantastically weird about Herba Fresca. I mean, I adore Herba Fresca. It's one of my favorite perfumes of all time. But I guess weird wouldn't quite fit in the DNA of Cartier, so maybe she thought she would go not supernatural, but supremely natural, almost like uber-natural. So what you've got here is really, really fantastic cocktail. How many of you out there have tried this, by the way? You've all gone quiet now. I would like to know how many people are even aware of this range or have tried them. You tend to get them only in Cartier boutiques and high-end department stores. You've got lots and lots of really, really fantastic bitter herbs here, so things like thyme, rosemary, very, very, very large dose of lavender, and those green grass notes, and a supremely perfectly balanced musky base. It is just work. It just works. That sort of the smell of if you're walking past freshly cut grass, and you know that this means that we're well into spring and summer is on its way and the days are getting longer. We had the shortest day yesterday, of course. This seems to just encapsulate all of that, and it's got maybe a touch of that, just a touch of that sweet mintiness that is so characteristic of the Guerlain Herbe Fresca. But even Madame Persolaise, who really has a strong aversion to green perfumes, there is something about greens that she can't quite take. She appreciates this, maybe because this isn't galbanum green. It's galbanum in particular that she has a problem with. This is the most immaculately groomed Wimbledon lawn just after it's been cut. It is just such a delight. So a comment from Bill, who says, I know about the Heure collection, but it's way too exclusive and the price tag is way too extravagant. Yeah, they are expensive, because I think, not powdery green, I guess, says Tashara. No. It's really naturalistic green. You know, it's a real sort of, you've gone out for a picnic and you're lying back on the picnic blanket and you can smell all the grass around you. Sounds lovely, says Lynn Smells. It really is. You, Lynn, you would probably have access to it somewhere near you. You know, it may even be that, like a Galerie Lafayette or a place like that with a niche-y counter, independent-y counter may stock it. It's definitely worth smelling. It just fizzes with life. It's just such a delight. Price tag, yes, they are expensive. They have always been expensive, these ones, from the moment they've come out. The bottles are 75 mils, and I think at the moment they retail in the UK at something in the region of £250, something like that, for 75 mils. And the Oud ones are even more expensive, because I think they are well over 300. They may even be close to the 400 mark. 260 euros, says Bill. Yeah, that sounds about right. They're not cheap. They really are not cheap. And in my own small way, whenever I've met a representative from the brand or the people representing the brand, I've always sort of quietly tried to say, you know, it would be nice if maybe they did like a smaller sizes. I know that you can get some of them in a smaller size in a set, but they only come in a set, I think a set of 6, and I think the set costs about £350 or something along those lines. So, you know, it doesn't really help. It would be nice if they did them like maybe in a 30 mil so that they could be a bit more accessible. Have you calculated the price of your list of 40 favourites? In a word, no. That would be interesting. It would be interesting to try to. Okay, well let's have that as our sort of 3-minute tangent discussion, because I was talking about the price of perfumes in a gathering of. Oh, hello from Greece, says Nick Yasunik. I was talking about the price of perfumes with a few like-minded perfumey people a few weeks ago. What was it that actually brought up the issue? I think somebody must have mentioned some super expensive perfume, and I forget which one it was. I'm not being coy. I genuinely forget which perfume we were talking about, although that wasn't the point. But I think we were all saying that we thought, you know, perfume X, whatever it was a great perfume. And then one person said, but it's so expensive. And it was almost as though the but it's so expensive then devalued the perfume itself and was a criticism of the perfume. And I said that I think a few years ago I decided that, yes, obviously price is a factor. You know, these are things to be bought after all, and the brands making them are trying to sell them, and they're trying to make a profit. So it would be silly to say that the price is not an issue at all. But I think price is a kind of side issue, because how much you're willing to pay is such a personal thing, and it depends so much on personal priorities and, you know, what you choose to spend your money on, what you choose not to spend your money on. I decided a while ago that I can't place too much of a value judgment on how much something costs, and also this notion of, is it worth it? Yes, okay, I suppose if you costed out the materials, you could say, well, this perfume should cost less than that one because the materials in it are cheaper. But the worth of a perfume, the value of a perfume, isn't necessarily surely linked just to its materials. It is a complex. Maybe it was the Frederic Malle we were talking about. Maybe it was the Frederic Malle Oud. It may well have been. Which, you know, I think 100 mils of that is now something like £900, which is insane. But we all know that for a lot of people out there, £900 is peanuts. And for a lot of people out there, £900 is way more than they will ever earn in a month. So when you're dealing with that kind of scale, it becomes quite difficult to I think come up with a sort of absolute view that says this is too expensive. So I think what I'm trying to say is that I kind of park price to one side almost now. You know, Zara actually have just done a collection in association with Jo Malone, not Jo Malone the brand, Jo Malone the woman. They've done them in association with her current brand, which is called Jo Loves, and I would like to do a video about the collection at some point, because even though it doesn't break new ground, it doesn't do anything particularly interesting, the scents in it are quite competent, and I think they retail in the UK at something like £26 for a fairly decent sized bottle. And so yes, when you've got perfumes that cost £26 at one end of the scale and over 900 at the other end, it does become harder to come up with you know, where you draw the line as to what you say is an expensive perfume or not, and what somebody is willing to pay for them. So yeah, I get what you're saying, Lynn. It would be interesting to price them up, and actually it would have been interesting to come up with a list of perfumes, the total sum of which, the total cost of which doesn't go over a certain value. That would have been interesting. But price is a funny one. Price is a funny one. I missed some comments. Marta says, I've only smelled Leur Promesse, which was a great modern summery spin on Samsara, mixing delicate sandalwood with iris. Yeah, that one I don't remember so much, but yes, you're right. Sometimes it's easier to sell something more expensive, says Lynn Smells. Yes, I'm sure I've said this on a video before. It was Jean-Claude Eleanor who I think in an interview was once asked how he makes a perfume more exclusive, and he said, we increase the price. With typically Jean-Claude Eleanor response, but he's right. You know, I know plenty of stories of people who've launched new brands, and then retailers come along to them and say, you know, we like your brand, but you need to raise your prices by 30% because otherwise nobody's going to take you seriously, and they will think that there is something wrong with these perfumes because you're not charging enough for them. The psychology of pricing is really, really, really interesting. Yeah, and there are lots of studies have been done, and I have a friend who studied fashion design, and one of the things that she wanted to do when she left school was to make an affordable but well-designed fashion range. So she managed to get some retail space, and nobody was interested in her clothes until she raised the price. So the clothes stayed exactly the same. She made them more expensive and she sold more. So the psychology around all of that is really, really odd, really fascinating. Hello from Puerto Rico, says Abdel. Good hello to you as well. I guess good morning to you there, yeah? Everything is relative to how good a perfume smells. Yes, absolutely, Lynn. Hello from Denmark, says Umberto. I love how Hermes exclusives give us a chance to try out their line without breaking the bank with the 15ml bottles. Yes, absolutely. Although you still have to buy 4 of them, don't you? And but the price for the 4, I think, is... You see, there, I was about to say I think it's reasonable, but I can't go beyond saying that I think it's reasonable. I think those 4 15ml bottles now in the UK, do they cost over £100? I mean, I know a lot of people for whom just the notion of spending more than £100 on perfume is just insane, and yet they wouldn't think twice about going out, you know, for a night of partying and spending £60 on alcohol. I mean, it is so relative and so personal. The samples from Hermes is the same price per mil, I think. Oh yes, says Umberto. So yeah, share your thoughts with me on this. You know, but you can't be too absolute. I don't think about pricing. Yeah, so I think the Cartiers are expensive. Probably a lot of people who go into Harrods walk in and maybe think, oh, how come these aren't as expensive as some of the Roger Dove perfumes? The Roger Dove ones must be better, therefore I will buy Roger Dove. Or the Henry Jacques perfume oils, and and so it carries on. We should smell something else. I would like to smell this, because again, another personal favorite for me, and I can prove to you how much of a personal favorite it is, because you may be able to see that there's very little left in there. Oh look, I've got unruly hair. Never mind, I'm not touching it, otherwise it'll probably get worse. This is the EDP, as in other words, the first version of the Maison Francis Kurkdjian Oud, the oud that he released in 2012, and which then led to a very successful oud range. He also did an extrait of this. I still prefer this. He did the oud moods. There was a velvet mood, there was a satin mood, there was something else I can't remember now. Oud, yeah, almost finished, says Tashara, which is why now I'm sort of, I shall spray some for you though. This to me was the smell of a particular summer. I know, it must have been, actually, it was probably summer 2012. I know a few people have criticised this for not smelling of oud. I beg to differ. Each time I smell it, each time I spray it, I get an initial, I totally get a burst of oud. Pisebi with 1001 says, I think Kurkdjian's oud is salty and not oudy. Well, I kind of think maybe it's both. Can it not be both? A lot of people, I think, have sort of complained that it's just cedar. I get cedar as well. To my mind, I definitely get a spirit of oud, a ghost of oud. I get that. There's also LME in there, probably guaiac wood. The peppery ouds, the peppery woods are in there. But I get that stinky animalic burst as well. But for me, what was remarkable about this was that it was the first oud that really bridged the gap between East and West, because there is something about this that is also unquestionably European in its perfumery style, and I would say that its use of musks. It's got a huge musk cocktail in the base, almost like a kind of CK1 musk cocktail. Not that I'm saying it smells of CK1, but you know what I mean. It's reliance on musks, and it is very, very peppery, citrus, woody, and as somebody just said, salty as well. But to me, it's oud too, and not in an Arabian way. And I think that's what I really appreciated about it. And I still think this is Kurkdjian's best oud. I think the other ouds became a little bit more what you would expect oud to be. I guess maybe they were a little bit more predictable, and maybe it's what customers wanted them to be. I don't know which of them is more successful or less successful. In fact, I need to kind of sort myself out another bottle of that, actually, because I love wearing it and just smelling it now again. I seem to remember in my review saying that it was a perfume that made connections. And I think we need that kind of thing. I was actually thinking earlier today that if I had to think of a perfume that built bridges between people, that brought people together rather than dividing people, what would go on that list? And this one definitely would. Something that looks out into the world with open eyes and open arms, and takes the best from what different parts of the world have to offer, and tries to come up with a hybrid that has an identity of its own, and isn't scared of embracing that identity. It was a real triumph, and I remember thinking that it was kind of neat that came from Francis Kurkdjian, who of course is French, but also through his heritage represents a very different sort of culture, because by his ethnicity and heritage he is Armenian, and it was great that the East and West story came from the perfumer, which came from the brand, which came from the material, which came from the execution of the perfume. It all just kind of worked, and I think it was really one of the highlights of the decade. A few comments. Angeline, going back to the money issue, I use the same analogy in spending too. Dropping $100 every week on drinks versus $300 a bottle of perfume is really about personal priorities. Yeah, it completely is, and we can't be judgy about it. Mateusz says, what about M7? I thought that this one filled the gap. Any thoughts on M7 Oud Absolu? Okay, well, first of all, if you mean why isn't M7 here, I guess it's because it's before 2010. I never really got a whole lot of oud from M7. I loved M7. I wore M7 to death, and I wore everything to do with M7. I used the deodorant, I used the shower gel, I used the aftershave balm. I thought M7 was fantastic, but I saw it as a very, very good woody scent rather than an oud. Whereas from the Kurkdjian, I genuinely get oud. But no, fair point. Pisebi says, true, the rest of his line are more predictable. I like cashmere, thank you, that was the word, cashmere oud, the most, and don't really care about his rose oud ones, fair enough. And Angeline says M7. Yeah, I loved M7 too. I did try the current M7. YSL reissued a lot of their classics like New and Y and In Love Again in those chessboard bottles, and they even renamed M7, didn't they? Because they called it M7 Oud Absolu. It was fine, but I think that initial novelty value had gone, that shock value had gone. Maybe it was always going to be a perfume that wasn't going to age well. I mean, I know a lot of people think that the current isn't the same as the original. Charles says, M7 Oud Absolu is my husband's signature winter scent. Love the mandarin oud combination. Yes, yeah, you're right. The citrus does work well, and it's nice to know that people still wear it. But somehow, when it died, the revival didn't quite capture our imaginations in the same way. Maybe YSL should have pushed it more. I don't know, because I was distraught when it went away, and I tried to buy every single bottle I could find, and for the longest time all you could find was that flanker, what was it called, M7 Fresh, which really, really wasn't the same. And I still have a few drops of the original left, but to me it feels a little bit like of its time, and at the time I thought maybe it would be timeless, but maybe history has proved us wrong. I don't know. Although, Charles, I'm sure if I smelled it on your husband, I would change my mind. And I've got a tiny. Well, I didn't do the press stuff on the Cartier. We've moved on anyway. I've got a tiny little blurb on the Kurkdjian, really, really tiny. It just says that it's inhabited by the Arabian magic of the 1001 Nights. I was going to say inspired. This olfactory treasure arose from the sand, wind, and gold, built on a dream of supremely elegant oud from Laos. And that is it. And this one's also not that cheap, it's 195 euros for a 50ml bottle, so, comments. It was always a pain when I have to go back to the feed. Mateusz says, yes, they could make it stronger and bolder. Imagine a new campaign for 2022 for M7. I'll tell you what, in today's times, it wouldn't have a naked man on it. How times have changed, though, because M7 is actually not that old. And I know the naked man thing was controversial, but they still did it, and they, newspapers and magazines across the world still ran it. I really can't imagine a brand doing that now, because I think in the last few years we have become more prudish in a weird way, because we've also become more tolerant about lots and lots of things, rightly so. But it's a funny kind of tolerance. I don't know. Oh, a 70ml bottle. Yes, sorry, I forgot. His bottles are 70ml. Thank you. And Pema says, am I too late? Well, if you wanted us to smell the Cartier, yes, you're too late, but you can watch the recording. But no, we've only done 2 perfumes, so you're fine. We have become more safe, says Tashara. Yes, maybe the Naked commercial was Tom Ford's idea, probably. Oh, I'm sure it was. And he was also behind the Sophie Dahl opium one, wasn't he? Agreed, Mateusz says. Charles, what did Mateusz say? I can't remember. Oh, yes, he says I was right. Okay. I'm not going to go down that tangent. I was going to say maybe we are more sensitive to what might offend people. And, you know, in principle, I guess that's not a bad thing because we don't want to go around offending people. But maybe sometimes people are offended too easily, or I don't know. I don't know. It's that's a whole other minefield. I think that's the kind of discussion that I would have not on my perfume blog, but on my personal blog. So, by the way, in case anybody's interested, latest post on the personal blog is my review of the new Star Wars movie. Mr. Ford loves nudity, says Charles. Yes, he does. And I think actually in some of his Tom Ford ads, I think he's overdone it. Anne Kalhar says, could you talk about the night, please? Oh, I can't now because I haven't brought my sample of the night. I'm really, really sorry. But you could read my review of the night. It's over there on, it's over on Persolaise.com. If you go to Persolaise.com and search for Frederic Malle the Night, you will find it. In a sentence, I think the night is amazing. I absolutely love it. Marta says, I've just received M7 as a Christmas gift. As in the new version, I really like it, but I cannot compare it to modern oud-based fragrances. It's a great honeyed mandarin patchouli. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I don't get the oud thing from it. You have a personal blog, says Anna. Share details, please. That blog is daryushalavi.com. I don't post a lot on it. One of my personal projects for 2020 is to try do a little bit more on it. And I guess I shouldn't talk more about it now because you've come here for perfume. And Charles is smiling, but I can't remember what he's smiling at now. But okay, we need to do more perfume actually. But keep the tangents coming because I love the discussions that we're having. So, just to repeat then, you are watching part 2 of my rundown of the best perfumes of the decade, also known as episode 55 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Please give me thumbs up if you're watching on Facebook. Hearts are always very welcome. More importantly, comments and questions are very, very welcome. And also, please consider supporting me on Ko-fi. You will find a link to that below. But I think we should move on. And what else did I kind of think that maybe Oh, I know. Let's smell the Le Labo. Because I love it, but also because I haven't smelt it for a little while. This is Ylang 49 from Le Labo. It was released in 2013. Here's an off tangent. Have you tried any of the new Celine fragrances? Oh, that's an easy one. No, actually this hair is really annoying me. Sorry everyone. I don't have water. Oh, it's just not going to work, is it? It's because it was recently cut and I think it hasn't really... Never mind. Let's just do a Clark Kent thing, shall we? No, that's even worse now. The joys of live broadcasts. Okay, somebody time me. How long is that going to stay there now? This came out in 2013, and again it was instant love for me because it was a really, really successful modern chypre. Who out there knows it? Who's tried it? If you haven't tried it and you like chypre, you are in for a treat because this is though somebody took aromatics elixir and a bit of opium, created their love child, and gave them a modern sheep, says Floating Man. No, I didn't say sheep. I said chypre. Thank you. The hair was bothering me. Well, it was bothering me too. Well, see. Well, I know what my hair is like. If I try to mess with it too much, okay. Let's just ignore it. This is going to be the episode. This is the episode with the hair. Sebastian from Smelling Great did a video on the new Celine fragrances. Okay, brilliant, thank you. And Dream of Me No More says, I'm late for a very important date. Hello. Okay, you're late for us. I thought you meant you're leaving. Chypre are my fave. Must seek this out, says Anna. Yes, if you love chypre. Madame Persolaise may have a hairband or a clip. Yes, she may, but I'm in a locked room because no one is allowed here while I'm doing this in case somebody forgets and suddenly walks into this room. You are just going to have to put up with the hair, people. Let's just. No, I'm not touching it because it'll get worse. Tashara, can you bear with this, Tashara? Okay. Oh, this is so good. This stuff. Yes, and every single time I smell it, I'm reminded of why I thought it was good. Because okay, it's got what you would expect from a chypre in the sense that it's got, in this case, a kind of rosy heart, white florals as well, obviously a touch of ylang ylang with the kind of requisite banana feel, but in a good way. Strong patchouli, woody patchouli base, which reminds you of, like I said, Clinique's aromatics elixir. peppery aspect to it as well. But for me, what made it modern and brought it straight into the 21st century, and what made it possible, or what start the sentence again, what stopped it from feeling in any way like a retro pastiche or something that was just sort of vintage and stuck in the past, was a kind of stewed vegetable note. And you can't say that when you're talking about a perfume without people going, that sounds disgusting. But it's not. It's fine. It's somehow savoury, almost like a kind of savoury celery salt note. But in combination with everything else, it just works. And I'm trying to think of what sort of image it conjures up, because it definitely does conjure up a retro image. You know, you almost kind of think of the woman in the Charlie ad, you know, the ad that apparently was the first ad in which a woman was seen wearing trousers, or a perfume ad. You kind of think of big hair, you think of big 70s hair, big 80s hair, maybe Farrah Fawcett type hair. But I think it's done tongue-in-cheek. So, you know, it's maybe somebody of current generation going to a sort of retro party in some way, but it goes beyond that too, because the person wearing this isn't just a caricature. There is real sophistication to this scent too. And what I'm still, it's intriguing actually, is the first time I smelt it, because it is hard to pin down. You don't particularly get a color from it. You get a kind of hum. You get a vibration, I suppose, and it holds you in its thrall. I remember the first time, I think when I reviewed it, I called it quite feline. And I suppose what I meant by that was that there's a kind of slinky quality. I'm not sort of, mind you, I suppose feline could also mean quite sophisticated. So yes, that it's mysterious. Maybe it is like a cat sort of crawling around corners. Not crawling, you know. What do cats do? Well, according to Eddie Izzard, they're always drilling, aren't they? A little bit of a blurb on that. Ylang 49 is a chypre floral where Pua Noa Noa, which is a gardenia from Tahiti, completes the floral voluptuousness of Ylang Ylang. Patchouli, oak moss, vetiver, sandalwood, and benzoin follow to tip the blend into darker, sensual undertones. Ylang 49 is a walk in the woods, a lush floral bouquet in your hand, listening to G. Gould's well-tempered clavier and realizing that a floral composition can go beyond flowers in the same way a fugue in D minor is way beyond the D. Well, yes, this really isn't just about the flowers. It is very much about the chypre base. And yeah, the sensuousness, I think that's, but it's a really, really modern sensuous, and it's interesting, again, thinking about it in terms of what it's not. It's not powdery. It's not overly vanillic. It's not overly musky. It is really trying to do something different. And like I said on my list of the best perfumes over on the blog, I think this represents Le Labo at its best, or at their best, because they seem to me to be most successful when they actually take a vintage idea, an older idea, and give it a twist that makes the execution completely 21st century and completely modern. Comments from Mr. Kelkvist. Hi, I just acquired 2 bottles of opium from 84 and 89. Ooh. Wow, I was blown away. The 84 is definitely more alive and probably contains natural musks and castoreum. It's possible. Jamie Brady says Ylang 49 sounds like it's similar to Byredo Rose Noir. Are they alike? Oh, I'd have to smell the Byredo again. Right, Tashara, should we try this again? We'll try this each time I finish a perfume. Let us just try and... You know, these would be the outtakes. These would be the bloopers. I hope you people find this funny, though. It sounds like an alternative to Superstitious, says Dream of Me No More. Ooh, interesting. No, because that one is so... we'll just ignore it. That Superstitious is so aldehydic in that kind of candle wax aldehyde way. Floating Man says, are your past reviews based on paper tests or skin? Oh, nearly always skin. And skin more than once, and usually not just my skin. I will spray them on other people. Certainly if it's a full review. If it's a sort of mini review, then it may be something that I may have smelt on paper, but no, it's like 95% of the time it's skin. Marta says, the combination of the ylang with the banana aspect and oak moss suggests a similarity to the Ladyboy Fantabuloso from Lush. Must get my nose on it soon. Maybe. It doesn't remind me of Ladyboy. It is a thing of its own. It is very, very sophisticated, and as the blurb said, very sensuous. Probably one of the best from, well, I mean, obviously I'm going to say probably one of the best from Le Labo for the decade. Greetings from Houston, Texas. I really love this one from Le Labo. Good, fantastic. Right, we will not take more than an hour of your time, so I think we should move on and let's do an amouage. We didn't do an amouage. We didn't do an amouage last time, and also I think as a kind of final thank you to the ex-director Christopher Chong, who left his post a few months ago. All of modern amouage, the perfumes owe their success to the creative director Christopher Chong, who gave us so many gems, including Opus 5, which I included in the first part of the list. So let's smell Interlude Man. This was, I know a lot of you out there know this one. This is still such amazing stuff, and also very interesting. Do you know who's replaced him, Floating Man? No, actually, I don't. I don't know if anybody has. I mean, watch this space, I guess. We'll have to see if any news is going to be announced. Anyway, Interlude Man. Oh, all I need to do is actually take the cap off the bottle. This is also on my guide to the best oud perfumes. Like everyone else can just go home now. This is all that this room is going to be smelling of. Last week when I did part 1 of the best perfumes, the part 1 of the video, when I left this room and when I came back, the room smelled amazing, and I thought, okay, this is what truly fantastic perfumes smell like. By the way, we will not be going past the hour, so start thinking about perfumes that you would like to nominate. Don't start typing them now, because otherwise I'll have to keep responding, but I will tell you when you can start typing the names of your favourite perfumes. Interlude is a beast, says Mateusz, smoky and woody. Really incredibly so. And that burnt, I may need to try this one again, says Floating Man. Didn't really catch my attention when testing at the store. Yes, you need to try it again. You need to try it again. This is Interlude and Gold are the best. I love gold. I still love Gold Man, Gold Woman. I adore gold. The golds are probably still my favourite amouages, but you know, Christopher Chong may have had more than a little thing to do with what they currently smell like as well. So you know, we have a lot to thank him for. This to me pushes how far you can go with making a perfume smell of burnt stuff. You know, this isn't just smoke woods. This is like a post-apocalyptic landscape where the tarmac of the roads is singed. No, gold was ruined for me when a friend of mine said it reminded him of nappies. But you know what you need to do with friends like that? You just ignore them. You just ignore them and you move on. In the same way that we're trying to desperately ignore this. My favourite amouage is, I guess, Journeyman. Really? See, Journey? Okay. Interlude is my favourite, says Child. Hate the name, love the scent. I couldn't get that association out of my head ever since. No, it never happened. It never happened. And you know, clean nappies smell perfectly fine. They didn't tell you that they smelt of, you know, soiled nappies. But this is a whole world covered in burning plastic. That post-apocalyptic singed image sounds like Australia these days. Ooh, yeah, well, that's not funny though. I know. It in our papers this morning as well. I mean, horrific images of the fires in Australia. Yes, and I hope people there stay safe and, you know, manage to get them sorted out. But let's try and keep things light and just talk about perfume smelling of post-apocalyptic worlds. And the oudiness that this tries to bring in is a oud chips smell. Blade Runner, says Anna. Yeah, but I associate Blade Runner with lots of rain, not so much the fires. I mean, I know there are those fires at the beginning, but everybody's always huddling from the rain, and they've got those illuminated phosphorescent umbrella handles, haven't they, so that they can see their way. Maybe more like Mad Max, where the desert, Mad Max Fury Road, I mean. What futuristic movies are set in worlds of fire? Interesting. Never really been a fan of the house, but adore Jubilation 25, and I think when it's written that way, that's the men's version. I can't remember. Well, that's fine. This is still, and what I like about it, because this was inspired by chaos, the idea of chaos and chaos theory, and the idea of sort of taking a moment out of it, an interlude. And there is something about this storm raging around you, this storm of literally the whole world descending into the chaos of hell and hellfire, and yet the center is very, very focused and somehow very, very zen and very composed, like this figure meditating in the middle of all of this destruction. And I guess that's why I sort of thought I liked the name. I mean, the name came when Christopher Chong was doing fairly music-related names like Lyric. Can't remember what some of the other ones were. I mean, Epic, Epic as well, to do with opera. They were quite operatic names, and this was like the interlude. But powerful, powerful stuff. I don't have a huge blurb on it, so I'm not even going to bother with the blurb. Right, I finished with the perfume, which means I need to have another go at this. It's not going to happen though. Jubilation 25 and Epic Woman were the must-buys for me, says Floating Man. Yes, Epic Woman I love, and Epic Man is one of my favourites from the brand, but again, that predates 2010, so couldn't include it. And finally, excuse me, because I included 3 from Hermes on the list, I thought we must do an Hermes. And I would like to do this one. You may just about be able to see the name. It's the Cardamusc or Cardamusc from the Hermescence range. Now, Jean-Claude Eleanor, a lot of you will know, started the Hermescence range, the Hermes exclusives, and then when he left and he was replaced by Christine Nagel, people wondered what was going to happen to the range. For a while, nothing was released, and then she came out with 5, 3 alcohol-based perfumes and 2 perfume oils, Cardamusc and an iris one. And I loved this one, and there's no point doing this on paper, so I'm going to apply this one on skin. I will try to do a blotter update afterwards as well, by the way. This is exactly what its name suggests. Nagel definitely doesn't have a hard G. She says Nagel, so we'll go with Nagel, I think, because that's what she says. This is. Did I miss a comment as well? No. Oh look! Oh, the hair was just about to come down then. This is cardamom and musk, but it's the simplest ideas. Sometimes all you need to do is just execute them well, and you get a gem. And I guess Christine Nagel thought that maybe there was just no point in dressing up the cardamom, but just sticking it in the right base of musks to slow down its development and allow each of its aspects and facets to come out. Cardamom is easily one of my favorite ingredients, perfumery ingredients, and also actually cooking ingredients. I love cardamom in coffee, love cardamom in tea. I've got a cardamom cordial that you can just mix with water and have a cardamom drink. It's got citrusy facets, it's got spicy facets, it's got obviously woody facets, it's got some kind of muskiness to it as well, and yet it's also cool and cold, and I guess that's what makes it so curious and so intriguing. And all of that is brought out, rosy facets as well. You get you get like a kind of lemony top. You get this very, very smooth, chilled but not icy woodiness. The musks are absolutely not overpowering. You can smell them, but you can see that they're there in the service of the cardamom. And also, again, very, very personally, to me, cardamom is always associated with hospitality and with being in very, very pleasant environments. Because in the Middle East, quite often if you go to somebody's house, you are greeted, sometimes even if you go into a perfume shop, you are greeted with, coffee and dates. And more often than not, the coffee will be cardamom flavored. And so you start making those associations with pleasantness and being treated nicely. Bahur says floating. Yeah, but that would be different though. That would be if they were burning the bahur. Oh, you've just retracted your comment. Fine, so I can't respond to it. But this is thoughts on Nagel and where Hermes is going. Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. Because we've done 5, and because we're definitely not going over the hour, now you can tell me what you would like to nominate, and I will actually look at what some people are nominating, and if there is a real clear winner, we could make that the 40th member of the list of the best perfumes of the decade. But while you're doing that, thoughts on Nagel and where Hermes is going. I'm trying to read between the lines of what you're saying. I wonder if you think maybe they're not going in a very good direction. I think they're doing fine, and I think they are still one of the best brands out there that are that manage to do this both exclusive and both mainstream. You can go into a Debenhams and buy Hermes perfumes, but there are also some that you can only buy at Harrods and in their boutiques. And Hermes is one of the few brands that manages to do that convincingly. It's a hard trick to pull off. I'm not sure that, for instance, Dior have pulled it off, because a lot of Dior's mainstream scents have been disappointing. Whereas, of course, Hermes recently gave us Twilly, and Twilly was great. And in the last 10 years, they also gave us, Voyage, which didn't do so well, but it was a good perfume. They gave us Jour d'Hermes, which again didn't do fantastically, but it was a very good perfume. So I think they're okay. I think maybe Nagel is wanting to move away from Jean-Claude Ellena's cerebral take. Twilly has been a success without being dippy or ditzy. So no, I think they're all right, and I still rate them. And I wasn't crazy about what she did with Terre when she did the extra vetiver Terre, but that's fine. What else have we got here then? So people are now nominating their own favorites. Let's see. Experimentum Crucis, fair enough. I still kind of struggle with it, but yes, a very, very interesting piece of work, which actually reminds me, I am putting the finishing touches onto my list of the best perfumes of this year. And I reckon the next time I see you for a video, it will be on the best perfumes of the year. I will try and give you as much notice as possible, but you will understand that the next few days now are going to be quite busy with family and Christmas stuff. I reckon best perfumes of the year will probably be maybe like on the 29th, 30th of December, something along those lines. Fille de Berlin says, Dream of Me No More. Comments on your lack of lutins. Uncle Serge didn't make it onto my list. I think if I had included one on the list, it would have been Fille de Berlin, the girl from Berlin, because I did love it. But yeah, I guess didn't quite make it strongly enough for me to be on the final list. Frederick Mal Promise says, Anne Kalha, I'm glad somebody likes it, because that is a Frederick Mal that I really, really dislike. There are very few Frederick Mals that I dislike, but fair enough. Jamie Brady says Aventus. Oh, okay, Jamie Brady blocked. No, just joking. I'm joking as well. Umberto agrees with, do you agree with the Hermes stuff, you mean? Dream of Me No More. I agree, it doesn't have a For the Plebs range. You said it, not me. Bill says Citron Noir. Eau de Citron Noir was... But it's done very well, apparently. Jardin sur la Lagune. No, I thought that wasn't so bad at all. And in fact, bits of it I do like. And Terre Vetiver. The style and quality is the same across both high street and boutique ranges, true. Stefan says Chanel Boy, which is on the list, but thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, thank you to Shara. Mateusz says Dior, well, Sauvage. I've tried it many times and I don't understand it. It doesn't work on my skin at all. No, it's not your skin, Mateusz. It's Sauvage. Trust me. Marta says, Le Cri de la Lumière from Parfum d'Empire. Okay, fair enough. One for me to check out. I love the rhubarb cologne, says Dream of Me No More. Oh, that was the Eau de Rhubarbe Écarlate or something like that. Yeah, that was an interesting one. It fills me with joy, says Dream of Me No More. Nick says, Dior Homme Parfum. Okay. I think there are changes coming to Dior Homme. So I would say if you like Dior Homme, stock up now. And by the way, also somebody on the last video, I can't remember who it was, said that Mugler perfumes have been bought up by L'Oreal, and I said I wasn't sure, but it turns out that that is true. So yeah, again, if you're worried about Mugler and you're fans of, Angel and Alien and all the rest of them, you may want to stock up now. Dryad, says Bill from Papillon. Yes, Papillon is definitely one of the best new brands of the decade, I thought, and Dryad was certainly one of the best perfumes. I also have a soft spot for Angélique. Terre Vetiver is great, says Mateusz. Fair enough. Jamie, Original Doré War and Peace, again, one for me to check out. Tashara says Dior Homme Parfum and Fahrenheit Parfum are great. Yeah, I remember thinking they were okay as well, actually. I need to dig out my bottles. Pure Distance M, says Pisebi, and Dior Vetiver. Oh, as in from I think that one's gone, hasn't it? But yes, a lot of people love that one. And L'Art de Guerre by Jovoy. Interesting things came out from Jovoy as well. That was a new brand too, actually, wasn't it? In the last decade. So I will go through these. If you're not watching live, then absolutely feel free to leave a comment. But I think I should start rounding things off because we are rapidly heading to the 57-minute mark. So, I love Cuir d'Ange. Yeah, that's on the list though. Velvet Haze, Deep Profundis, and Dondelay, as well as Beige. But I think this decade was not as good as the previous. Interesting. I think the first half of the decade was better than the second half, I think. And I don't think 2019 was an especially memorable year, even though I'm struggling to get my list of the best of this year. I'm struggling to get it to 10. Thank you for all the information, says Umberto, which is a perfect cue for me to say no. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the interaction. Thank you all for making this so much fun. For what it's worth, I will do a blotter update after a few hours, even though we kind of don't need to do blotter updates on these because I'll basically be saying they're amazing. Dream of Me No More says, I think the thing you also have to say about this decade is that Perfumes, the guide, had a huge influence in terms of people setting up companies. Yes, the Luca Turin, Tania Sanchez book, absolutely. Arkadiusz says, I would like to nominate Journeyman by Amouage, fair enough, and influencing what people produced. And Givenchy Gentleman EDP is really nice. Yes, I think, yeah, but I wouldn't go further than really nice. And thank you for mentioning that it's the EDP, because the EDP is definitely a lot better than the EDT. Okay, if you are celebrating Christmas, may it be full of fun and laughter and amazing food. If you're not, then wishes of peace and kindness and joy and good health to all of you. Thank you, Persolaise. Thank you very much. Do you think the best perfume house of the decade is a worthy investigation? Off the top of my head, Frederic Malle, probably, because I think there was enough amazing stuff from them. Where they go next is going to be interesting. Merry Christmas, Wesołych Świąt to all of you and your family as well. Lots and lots of wishes coming through. Seriously, people, thank you very much for making this so easy and enjoyable. Thank you, Strand of Hair, for staying in place. But I think it's time for me to go. So see you again soon. Take care. Bye.